Hello, I'm Kishal, and I just wanted to say a quick word before we get to the next CSM interview. I want to apologize for my camera coming in and out and the editing not being very good in between when my computer crashed and getting Youngpuke's questions cohesent. I'd also like to apologize for the fairly low energy. Young Puke was up very early. I was up very late. I think we're both being run by caffeine at this point. Please don't judge our abilities as CSM candidates or CSM based on our very chill and low energy interview. All right, everyone. We have yet another CSM interview. And before we get into this, I just want to remind everyone that the reason I'm doing this is so you can be informed about the expertise and platform of the various candidates, and so that the management and community teams of Warm Life and eRookies can put together the ballot. I'm not the one who does that. They're the ones who do it, so this information is for them. So without further ado, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your EVE gameplay and why you want to run for CSM again.
Yeah, so my name is YP2. I am rerunning for CSM because I have really enjoyed it the past year. I think that this past year we've advocated on behalf of many different size groups and individuals across the spectrum of medium to small scaled groups from low sec, high sec, null sec wormholes, specifically um, really focusing on ecosystem development. I've been a content creator and leader and living all over K-Space and interacting with various communities and making sure that they have the opportunities to grow and develop their groups and teams and their communities.
So I'm sure that you have a platform for this year. What do you want to try to accomplish?
So I think there's big three things. The first one definitely is related to like faction warfare low sec, which is going to be obviously implementation of the LP ledger, elimination of AWOC sync, and changing standings. Furthermore, I think skyhooks, shipcasters, and the integration between high sec and low sec, and developing a greater purpose within the Warzone area, and then also specifically um, really making it as longer to medium term goals, such as like heralding, such as various other things that is ongoing. So it makes the Warzone have a bigger purpose than just painting the map green or blue or yellow or orange or maroon, I think is the color. Um, and fixing problems with insurgencies. The second aspect is really ecosystem development. So, for example, in non-faction warfare LoSec or wormholes, there's a lack of like content generation opportunities for small to mid-scale groups. These regions I call in like Iridia or Solitude are now graveyards of metanoxes. There's no life left. There's only metanoxes, and so you have opportunities for these smaller groups to grow that are like 100, 200, 300, 400 characters, so they don't get pushed out into oblivion. Um, and I think creating those opportunities, and obviously the third aspect is continuously pushing for more balance and balance ship balance.
Okay.
So this is a project that Stitch and I have been continuously working on since probably CSM. I think it was CSM 2017. Or was it 2018? I forget. Or CSM 18. But really holding CCP accountable, iterating on ships, maintaining the balanced pass rate of what we want to be once a quarter, something that is near and dear to my heart. And I guess one more thing would be the improvement of communication with CCP to the player base. That's something a big goal we've accomplished this year is improving that, and continuing that would also be something that I want to maintain. But yeah, those would be like the 3-4 things.
Awesome. Before we get into some CSM specific questions, I have some questions that are stemming more from my community. And the first one is, what do you think the biggest barrier to brand new players undocking is?
Lack of information. I think you could probably make an encyclopedia of the amount of information there is, but the information's not streamlined. And I think, like, for example, we talked about this in other shows, Kushal, but like, how do you get involved in faction warfare?
Yep.
How do you get, like, there should be like a tie to getting them in from high sec to low sec. I mean, I saw a Reddit post. It's like, oh, like what new bro groups should you join? And it's all like blocks that are listed.
Mm-hmm.
But if I remember post Uprising, there are so many groups and so many new players that came to these low sec groups, or even NPC groups, or high sec to low sec hybrid groups, right? And like really acknowledging and promoting this information. I know there used to be a Eve Academy page that hasn't been updated in like forever, of like all the new groups that they recommend, basically groups like IRED, UCSC, Eve for Peace, communities, even the MPSI groups, even actually Burn the Boats. They do some like high sec, low sec stuff that I was talking to recently. These are the type of groups I think that need to be promoted. Smaller groups, not so they can have more better individualized attention. For new players, and it really is the information. It's like, how do you join these groups? How do you get there? How do you get involved? Militia chat only gets you so far. But realizing all of a sudden you have to download a Discord, you have to auth, you have to, have standings. It's just, making it easier versus like a mission that could say, hey, for your career mission, go to the Shipcaster Center, take the Shipcaster, run 2 plexes. Here's how you run plexes. More direction is better. There's too much information, and because the game is so old and the information is not streamlined. That would be the answer.
Yeah, I think, it would be pretty cool, like we were talking about, what was it, on Untethered, or it could even be another, I don't know, all the interviews are starting to run together now, but having Aura, pop up and say, okay, you need to go see the Shipcaster now, and, she directs you to the Shipcaster and goes out, you get there, and she's like, okay, there's a Plex 2 jumps away, go over there, and then explaining it step by step for at least your first time. I think that would be an awesome bridge into it.
And not just that, like for newer players too, like if you join, let's say Galente, you can't get into access into Jita anymore, right? You only have usually they have only one account. So I think a way to like make a win-win is, why don't they have like fully T1 fitted ships in the LP stores?
That's
you can buy it with LP. It doesn't have to be crazy. It's not going to break the economy. It's a sink, but you have like fully fitted ships that are sold by the militias. They cost maybe a little bit of ISK, but mostly LP. They're for new players. They're fully fitted, and so they don't have to go and haul and move and do all this, stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's a barrier. And a lot of, the way I think about it is like, like how Helldivers or even Battlefield 6, right? They have like a standard loadout that you can use on day one. That's the idea.
No, that'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
What role do you think fleets play in player retention? And this isn't just necessarily new bros, but players in general.
I think it really depends on the group. I think there's a big aspect of like fleet, like community engagement is one way, but like some people, they just want a group of friends that want to play. I think it plays a big role. But it depends on your community. Like some people, they don't want to fleet up. They just want to mine together, or want to play other games and hang out on comms, or they play together, they do other things together. I think it's a huge factor is the fleets of getting people involved, but I don't think it is the sole factor. I think it's a multifactorial problem or idea, but fleets do play a big role, especially in the PvP centric communities, because like you want to fleet up together, you want to have fun, you want to enjoy life in your group, and fleets are the way to do that.
So I know that you are the leader of your own community. So this next question is kind of aimed at community leaders. If you could get CCP to add something to help improve the different communities to get content to their players, what would you have them add?
So the question's asking like, if I could add something to the community for the content for the players, what I would add?
Like a tool, whether it's a corp tool, addition to freelance projects, some sort of tool communities can use to bring content to players.
It's not really a tool, but I really like the emails that CCP sends out for like objectives of stuff to do. I think that is so underutilized. I think if there was, especially in low sec and fac war, if there was like these hey, Capsuleer, you gotta go kill this site, and everybody gets an Eve mail, and it's like a super rare site, and people have to fight over it. That would be super cool.
That would be pretty cool.
So,
Yeah, I noticed with with the Vanguard event that they started sending out mails on behalf of the NPCs. I thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, so like imagine like you get an Eve mail and it's from General Commander Princess or whatever from Lamar. It says take Aga, and then the Minotaur general is like, you must defend Aga for 3 weeks, and it turns into a massive battleground for 3 weeks. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree.
That, that would just be like a way to create organic content generation, and then you can have like heraldry. I think heraldry is very underutilized. So let's say like you win in this first battle, you get like a special hat or a jacket, or like you get something super cool. This is the LP. It could be something like this would be monetary. I think there's a lot of desire for like heraldry items, pride in your militia, pride in your corporation or alliance. And maybe you get an LP bonus, like you get 1,000,000 LP if you save the system or take it or something. It won't break the bank. It won't break the bank, but it'll create some new purpose.
What do you think toxicity is keeping players from undocking? If you remember back, I think it was Untethered that I mentioned militia chat and how it was very gatekeepy and very toxic, especially since we literally were brand new into faction warfare. And if I had been more than a 5-year-old player, I'd be like, screw this and probably never come back. What role do you think this plays?
Yes, I think AWACSing toxicity is the number one issue in the Warzone. It has been now for over a year. It kills new players. They leave. They quit the game because they don't understand. There's no cue to say, "Hey, you just got AWACS." There's no explanation, and that's what people don't understand. Not everybody has a Discord account, right? Not everybody who's playing Eve is like in these communities. You have a lot of players that are isolated and alone, and they don't start understand what's going on, and then they get very confused, and then they leave, which is very unfortunate. So yes, it's a very big issue.
Yeah. What content do you think keeps players logging in? Is it the daily missions, or is it these events, or is it the big wars? What do you think drives players to actually log in and do something?
Ooh, good question. All of the above. I think it depends on the player. I think taking it from like a psychological perspective, I think the people's motivations and desires are very different within Eve. Eve is a very diverse game, and there's multiple games within the game. So I think that you really have to look at each ecosystem and player and to figure out their own motivations. So like why wormholers log in is different from why nullsecers log in, or why nullsec miners log in is different from why lowsecers log in. Like if there's a big mining rock, I wouldn't log in for that. But if there was a Titan tackled, I'd log in for that.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? So like, right? So like, I think the motivations of the player, and I think that's where CCP has difficulty sometimes understanding. And I think they do. It's just hard to then quantify it. I don't know how you would really, unless you use like survey data, but like really quantify what is the experiential aspect within Eve that players sort of drive towards, so to speak. Because the big wars, I have zero interest, but maybe you like it. Maybe
Right.
There's a Dread Brawl and you want to third party it. Oh, I'll log in for that. Like what drives people to log in. Maybe there's a new content storyline. Maybe there's a new Federation event or something, right? So I think you have to really examine the player base and then start categorizing them. That's how that'd be my answer.
Do you think that we should be encouraging solo players to play as a group?
Yes. I think Eve is eventually a group game, but I think there should still be a space for solo players. I just think Eve, because of its sandbox nature, and then because of its desire to scale requires people, and also collaborating with people. I think that's not unavoidable. So I think encouraging people to build those connections and bonds
Mm-hmm.
is very important because it's the community aspect that keeps the game alive more than any login screen bonus. So that'd be, yeah,
So,
I think that's
so before we dive into the next topic, I promised that we would talk about the 90% loot event that's going on with the Halloween right now. Since we didn't really get to do that because questions went elsewhere. So my thought on it is I the CEO of a high sec incursion community that has, upwards of 50 billion or more ISK on the grid is actually very thrilled. But the side of me that is working with new players and trying to teach them and explain that HiSec is not a safe place, that if you when you undock, you're consenting to getting blown up, and this is the consequence of going out and playing the game, is really kind of sad that CCP has taken the line of making HiSec safer. And of course, this goes in with the Lancers, which may or may not, be a obsolete NPC, and taking the fobs out of high sec to low sec. So I'm that part of me is actually kind of irate about it. So what is your feelings on it? Do you think that it's a good path for CCP to go down, or do you think it's a slippery slope?
I think once we're both on the CSM together, wink, wink, we need to actually, I think, sit down with CCP and actually look at the data. Like, why are players leaving? What happens if we make it safer? Like, what are their concerns? I feel like the FOBs leaving to go to low sec was part of that concern. Like, their new bros are dying to rents or whatever. But I think there should be, if I had a magic wand, right? And this is like, I don't know, only one opinion, which is I think there should be like super high sec safe areas, which there already are, where nobody can
Yeah.
PvP, and maybe expand those areas a little bit. But like they need to get used to the combat in a way, and and you have to move them from high sec to low sec. And I think the data is clear. Like if they leave to go to other space, retention goes up basically within a certain amount of time. That's what it feels like, at least.
Yeah.
They join a corporation that isn't like a new bro total corporation. The rate of their commitment goes up to the game. So I really think that it's. I was going to say something political, but I'm not going to say it. It's like making things like as totally safe
Yeah.
may actually be harmful to the player because they don't understand the rules of the game.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the way I'll put it. And I think that is very detrimental to player growth, their own development as a player, and their experiences, because I think you have to play Eve one way.
Yeah.
So I think you have to be very delicate in how you create these high sec ecosystems, which, it's funny. I always say this. This is terrible for as a PvP centric candidate. I'm like, they should just update high sec for a year. Like totally iterate on high sec, fix high sec wars, fix these systems, fix ganking, do all this stuff, war decks and everything. And it's like not really my area of focus, but like it's like wormholes, like high sec missions. Some of these things are so old. And if I'm a new player and I want to explore, like missions are a great way. Like maybe there's more missions that take you into low sec, or there's high sec mission like DEDs that have low sec escalations that require stuff. I don't know. I don't know if those even exist. The game's too big. I don't think they do.
There's DEDs that escalate into low sec right now.
There are, okay.
Yeah.
And so like I think then if it's like more solo gameplay, then make it like group gameplay. Like 5, 6 of you need to make a mission. It's a group thing, and then you need to go to Losec and you need to do this thing, and I don't know, like make it more small game community focused rather than like I just feel like so much of high sec is like so isolating or can be unless you
Yeah.
incursion. Like it's just, or it's, I don't know. I feel like it's very solo gameplay, generally speaking, versus like the newer stuff, which is more group oriented. Um, so yeah, I think like make if there's like group missions that take you from high sec to low sec, that'd be a great bridge instead of just like the DEDs or like maybe a mission escalation. I don't know, but group stuff, more group. So that'd be my answer.
Okay.
Which I don't know if I even answered your question or not, but
No, I think it's good. This kind of loops back to the toxicity a little bit. Um, you're aware of the campaign down in Providence this summer with the Eve community versus Absolute Order.
yeah.
So, in light of this particular operation, where, I mean, I think it was like a almost MPSI eviction op where we had blocks coming, we had MPSI groups coming. It was pretty amazing to see, and they just wanted Absolute Order to stop with the toxicity, the upper management. Do you think that this type of, I guess, event operation uh, is a good thing for Eve, a bad thing? Are you, proud of everyone? Did it accomplish what it was supposed to? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm gonna have a hot take. I don't think it did anything. Um, I think the group still exists. Nothing's changed. They just anchored a new keep star. It was all showboating for nothing. Great that we can feel good about it, but the communities themselves still exist and nothing has changed. So is that too hot of a take? I don't know.
No,
But yeah, I mean,
I
it's
honestly think that it's an interesting take. I'm personally glad that the community got together and attempted it. But yeah, they're still there. We see the posts.
yep, yep.
So
And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's nice that the community came together and did it. I think it's good. It shows like player action and for standing up for our values. But I think I just I don't know what it accomplished. Like, what's changed? I think that is a call to action on CCP's end. Like, if there's
yep,
something that they endorse on their own communities or not, that is up to them because the players only have like limited tools,
yep.
right? Um, and that's I don't know if this is a pessimistic take, but I just and plus not and it is fine, but fraternity has its own issues, right? Like,
Okay, so you were saying about the op from the summer.
for example, there's a lot of like AWOXing and um, like poor behavior that's like coming out of frat in the war zone, and like when people try to address it, nothing happens. It's a community choice to sort of engage in those behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also been abhorrent things they've said. And I find it ironic that the people that are pushing most for that are the people that I would argue are also have blood on their hands or they're guilty themselves.
Right.
And so it's just like, is this like a diversion thing? Because I have tons of new players that quit the game because they've been AWOX constantly in sites. And when I talk to their leadership, that's falls on deaf ears. So yeah, I find it to be pretty problematic.
Well, I guess the way we can look at it, at least it brought some fun content for some people who've never seen a keep star blow up or been involved in kind of a nullsec operation. So it provided content at the very least.
Yeah, and I think it did show like there's not an appetite for that certain behavior in the community, which is good. I just think that if I have to be real, I think the change that we would want to see needs to come from CCP side, not
Yeah.
our side.
Now, on to some fun topics, CSM specific. So, you as a current sitting CSM, um, who have you worked with the most as far as your fellow CSM has gone?
Yeah, so I think I've worked with quite a few. The biggest folks I've worked with is definitely be Mick. Mick and I come from both similar communities, smaller ones that really just want to fight and have content. Um, then Dujek, Drake It On, Oz, uh, Ariel, Seto, Zintage, Kaz. Probably would be those would be the ones that I've worked the most with. Um, Kaz and Zintage and I, we talk a lot about like nullsec health, how to iterate on space, make space better. Um, how to conquest-based soft warfare. Kaz and I talk about all the time. Like, how do you sort of create more objectives in nullsec? Because we
Mm,
both used to live in nullsec, or I used to, and he still does. So even though we may walk two different paths of life, we've collaborated a lot on that. Mick and I, as I said, a lot of like the iteration on wormholes that Mick has been pushing, I've been very supportive of it. It's a neglected ecosystem. People are leaving. It's very much red flags there. And it really, wormholes also needs its own expansion at this rate. It's been like a decade.
yeah.
Like it just needs to happen. And Drake and I, my fellow selectee, a lot of stuff we collaborate on. Um, I think mostly related to like general projection, low sec health. We talk a lot about that, or just like general issues in the community. We're both very active in the community together, and just discussing like what problems we need to bring up week per week. Our approach generally on the CSM is a team-based approach. So what we do is that we talk before all together, generally, or most of us do, um, before our meetings, and then um, we we then bring it up together as a team, so more stuff can get done faster. I highly suggest others to take this approach. I know Drake talked about this approach also on the show, and it's very much a collaborative approach versus like a siloed approach. When Mick has concerns about wormholes, I back him up. I agree with him. Same thing, because I see the same issues in my ecosystem as well. Or let's say Drake or Kaz has ideas about something. It's like, yeah, that'd be super cool. Like, you guys work as a team. You should support each other 100%. At the same time, a lot of people think the CSM is like you just promote your space. Like, that's not true. You really work together as a team, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's pretty much
oh,
how CSM18, we collaborated together as well. And I'm pretty sure like Kaz and Storm and Luke probably brought that from 17 into 18 and 18 into 19.
yeah, definitely. I just think there's like on just like a day-to-day basis, like I probably work with like Drake, Dujik, and Mick the most. Um, and Oz. I'll message him sometimes about like economy stuff all the time.
Right.
Um, and I think like those are the 5, 6 folks that I work with the most, generally speaking. Dujek does a lot of like fittings. I've been pushing for more balanced stuff. He's been super helpful with that. Same thing with regards to the cenotaph. I mean, it's just like a big thing too. Is like when we were talking about changes to insurance, that was very much a collaborative approach. So like Kaz helped out, Storm helped out. Um, when we talked about ESI stuff, we just let Ariel take the wheels and we say good luck and pray to Jesus that it works out. Um, but yeah, like I think it's very mixed. Seto and I, how we focused it was he focused a lot on the super capital stuff. I focused on like capitals below, and sort of like we meet in the middle because sometimes we have differing opinions about things. But generally, we agreed like probably 95% of the time. I'm like, these are the issues, and we've been pushing for changes, and I think our productivity on CSM19 demonstrated that approach pretty nicely. So
yeah, looking, from the outside in, I think I tend to agree with that. If you make it back onto the CSM, what other candidate types and knowledge do you think are needed?
great question. I think this year we really missed a high sec person. I'm not a high sec person. I'm just being straight honest. I'm high sec adjacent, cause like low sec to high sec, and the interactions too. But there's a lot of like communities and people that I'm not really connected with who live in high sec. I think that that is the one voice. Because we had a wormholer, we had 2 low secers, we had a pod spinner, we had a yapper, which was me and Drake. We had a bunch of low sec people. Even though like Ariel's like not really like dull, he didn't really give like, it was mostly like ESI for him. Like text debt.
But that was much needed.
Yeah.
That was so needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I think really is high sec. Really a high sec person. I mean, we talked a little bit. Dujek really helped build Stack Bridge a little bit, but somebody that lives and breathes high sec.
Yeah.
Which will probably be one of the selectees if there's not a top 10 person, no matter what, and there should be. So
okay, if you remember from last year, I had a question about how you imagine handling disagreements between yourself and CCP. Now that you have sat on the CSM, and undoubtedly there have been some things that CCP have put out there that you didn't agree with, how did you handle that? Obviously, you can't say specifics, but how did you approach it?
I think we take a collaborative approach. I think that we are generally on the same team, and so that if we have disagreements, we talk it out. I think it's via dialogue is the best way to do it. To have these conversations. Remember, like, I think it's important to not be an ideologue and come into this like I need to do this, and this. Instead, I think it's very important for us to be open-minded, and even if we all disagree and there's a solution implemented, that actually may be the best solution, right? And so, I think that it is not a easy path at times to sort of meet these agreements halfway. I do think at times, however, it is very important that we come from a place of understanding, and by doing that, usually the truth comes out one way or another. So that's how we do it. So I think a lot of disagreements is misunderstandings at times, rather than like philosophical, like foundational disagreements. Maybe differences in implementation or solutions, but our job is to be an advocate, not a problem solver at times. That's how I would.
How did you deal with when you're sitting in your meeting and CCP just drops that bomb on you, like something you didn't even see coming, that they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, by the way, that is just like the most horrible idea ever?
So I take the Socratic approach and I ask questions. Don't have to show with intention. Just ask what their thinking is. What are they trying to achieve? What are they trying to do? A lot of the time, that's how you get people to really understand, oh, maybe this wasn't the best idea in the whole world. And to me, I think that is how we get to that truth, right? Is via like those just asking those genuine questions. I think that's how I handled it, or that we have a discussion, we talk about it. So like adults. I know it's not like a crazy answer or anything, but it's the truth. It's just you act like a professional and you just talk it through. I mean, sure, sometimes I want to throw like a banana CCP Okami, and then he throws a banana back at me, and then but that's not how we operate, right? It's a professional workplace environment, and we problem solve together, and we come to an agreement, and they're open to feedback. So it's like it's not like we're doing this, and Youngpuke, you can go screw yourself. It's like this is what we think. This is what we want to do. What do you guys think about it? And then then you give your feedback. Just be reasonable. Be a person. And the other thing too is like they're people. They're not like robots, right? They have kids. They have families. They have aspirations and goals. Treat them like a human.
Is
Get to
is
know them.
is CCP Convict really human though? Mm.
I don't know. He is from the down under, so
Exactly. They did plug him into a
so
volcano at some point.
It's true. And I definitely think that I think it'd be very, very detrimental if we didn't have an Australian at CCP. We need somebody to translate for the community. So
absolutely.
Took me a second how to say it politely. So
okay, so we're coming to an end, but there's one issue that was a fairly hot button issue for CSM18. I know it was for 17, probably 16. Projection. Do you think that this is going to be an issue that CSM20 is going to have to continue working on, or do you think that the changes that CCP made for the last expansion, summer expansion, were enough to make everybody happy?
Ooh, that's a great question. There's a lot of different ways I can answer this. I think we didn't do enough. I am very much in favor of certain restrictions for projection, mostly long-range projection, that needs to be implemented. I think it is very much a shame that we did not get a long-range projection nerf that was sufficient. CSM20 is going to definitely talk about it. Do I think it is going to be solved? And to be frank, the only way it's going to be solved is CCP solves it for us. This is a conversation that I think topic that CCP really needs to take leadership and ownership on and recognize the problems, which they do, and then implement a solution that is adequately enough. I think asking the CSM to problem solve it constantly year over year over year versus implementing a solution and iterating on it, to me, to be frank, I find it boring. I think it's something that we've been discussing now between 5, 6, 7 years, and I'm tired of the conversation because if we don't move on and solve this issue, we are stagnating the game ourselves. Maybe that's what people want. Maybe people don't want change, which is bad. I think change is necessary for growth and development. But I'm fucking tired of just having the same talk, same talking points, same conversations. Just implement a solution, right? Just get something in and let's move on and move the needle forward. This game is 20 plus years old. Why are we spending a quarter of it talking about the same issue? It's just stupid to me. And if it's them, that's fine. I love CCP. They can do what they want. Projection is always going to be a hot topic. I just don't think it is. There's some topics. It's like, for example, if I'm a doctor and I'm asking the patient to prescribe their own treatment regimen, you don't do that. You take leadership and you do it yourself. You may ask for input, but you have to act. And that's how I think. That is how I think you don't let the consumer decide. You have to take. You're the expert in the matter. You see all the variables of the problem. You have to solve it.
So
and people are bored. I'm bored of this conversation. We've had it. We've talked about it 15 times.
Do you think that CCP may be hesitant to do this because they're going to think it's another blackout or scarcity where people are going to just leave, especially since Null is one of the most populated areas?
Okay. I'll pose this as a question. To your question, if a treatment has, if you're going to the doctor and a treatment has side effects, but the side effects means that you overall will become healthier, do you go through the treatment? Sometimes those side effects resolve over time. I mean, you can have different treatments, and guess what? You can change the treatment that you're doing as well if the side effects are bad. Um, I also think that there is major agreement among a lot of null leadership that says long range projection is bad. I think people have publicly stated that across the board. Um, and it's up to the treatment team to implement the right solution and course. It's not up to the players or the patient themselves. I think the approach has been fundamentally wrong on this topic.
Fair enough. So, one last question for you. What do you feel is undone from your current term that you'd like to continue working on in your next term if you were elected?
Continuing to iterate on the ecosystem, smaller ecosystems, to be an advocate for the small to medium-sized groups. So like creating better making opportunities, more content generators, more things to do, and lots of various areas of space would be very, very cool, such as LowSec, wormholes, NPC null. We've been promoting these communities and small communities very much. We just need to get it over the line, especially with AWOXing, LP Ledger, and a bunch of other stuff as well. So
cool. Then we are in final thoughts. So tell us, why should we vote for you, and why should my communities put you on our ballots?
sure, I think my approach is a community-centric approach, similar to you, Kushal. I talk to people. I'm not afraid of having conversations, even tough ones. Um, I think that via dialogue and conversation is the best way forward, and I have a track record. Unlike my other candidates, or many of them, I'm one of the very few candidates, or maybe one or two, that have actually got implementation and before being on the CSM. That track record has been good. Improving friction work for low sec, and getting stuff done, even lots of stuff done on the CSM. I think that is a very unique trait that makes me a unique candidate. And then I'll reach out to you, the people, the players, and ask you, what do you want? I'm not a black box CSM. I'm your CSM, and I want to make your player experience better for all. That's why you should vote for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. If people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
I live on Discord. You can DM me at my username, which is probably in the video below and linked.
Yep.
You can always DM me. I'm on Discord 24/7. So
cool. Then thank you so much for coming and talking to me, and best of luck with your campaign.